I make immersive theatre. That is theatre that you can, as an audience member, enter into our world. So it's essentially like a real live choose-your-own-adventure story where you can look behind walls, open up cupboards, talk to strange men. It all sort of exists around you, and this is sort of the work that I make. So with this presentation, I kind of had to ask myself, why do I make theatre? Because and I got sort of frustrated because I don't like the question, because I kind of find that imposing any sort of authorial comment on your work sort of muddies up the conversation that the audience should be having with the work themselves, that relationship that they should be making, and I felt like I didn't want to impose myself. So I wondered, okay, then is it something to do with my nature? Because I'm sort of a reckless person. I'm often someone who finds themselves without any money, or who has gone down one route without thinking anything through, and entirely believing that this new idea will solve everything, which is sort of like making a play. So maybe it's the recklessness. And then I made a list of influences, because I was like, maybe that's it, from childhood. So literally everything that I have like stowed away and kind of stolen and nicked from over the years. And that's where all of this came through. I'll go into more detail about each of them a little bit later. Right, so the first one was Cats, the terrible Andrew Lloyd Webber musical. That was a big thing for me as a kid. Then we've got Anna Karenina and X-Men, which seemed like an odd pairing, but I remember feeling with both of them, there's this great sense of empathy for characters made without judgment. This is a story that kind of has resonance for me. That's my sister with Santa Claus. So we grew up in Finland, and you could go in December and to Santa's workshop, and he'd be there, and there's reindeer and shit, and it's like really idyllic. And so my sister has this photograph with this real life Santa Claus. This is my photograph with him, where I could not be looking farther away. That's because when I saw him, I took one look, I screamed at the top of my lungs, and ran straight to my mother. This is sort of where I discovered that I'm not very brave, which is kind of important, comes up later. Right, I'm sorry, this is a photo of me and my sister, but it's there because I'm holding a Barbie doll. Barbie dolls and building blocks were also big things. The Barbie doll thing is something that my father and my sister still like to shame me in front of people about. That is also important, and we'll come back later. Then there was Batman, the 60s TV show, the comics, that leads to the Burton movies, that leads to an obsession with Michelle Pfeiffer, that kind of leads to an obsession with blonde girls that hasn't sort of left yet. But then this is her in The Fabulous Baker Boys, and you'll note she's wearing a red dress, slinking along, singing on a piano. Also comes up later. This is just general influences. Robert Altman's Natural, which has these huge sprawling casts. There's about 35 main characters. The work of Silda Mireles, this artist who has a real simplicity and a way of being able to use the form to comment on what he's trying to talk about. That's Shuji Teriyama's Throw Away Your Books, which I steal from. That's Martin Scorsese, who's also really important because he, more than anyone, I think, imposed on me this idea that it wasn't enough to just love the making of it. It wasn't enough to be into the camera or the thing. You had to love what you were talking about, that these were narrative traditions that we were working in. That is something hugely important to me. Now, here, you'll see how influence kind of comes in, because this is a play I directed about 3 years ago called Rondo, and you'll see the actress Tehani Chitty is wearing a red dress, she's slinking along, and she's singing a song. And similarly, in the immersive work I make, it's large, sprawling casts, kind of like Altman or Tolstoy, where you, as an audience member, can kind of find your way in. So with Parea, I kind of looked at this idea of the last show I made, these building blocks, the diorama, that I could create these worlds from my mind. But with the building blocks, I could make it, and I could close my eyes, and I would wish so hard that I could be inside of it. And now I can, because I can make the world, and I get to live inside of it for a little while. And this is where things sort of begin to click, because this is more than about being on stage. It isn't just the stock answer about play. This is about your combined imagination bouncing with each other. Immersive work is about the world. It's not playing anymore. There isn't a suspension of disbelief, almost. It's that we set up these worlds and these rules and these sets with doors that lead into other doors, and rooms lead into rooms, and people who never go off stage. And it's a world. And then for a full 90 minutes or 3 hours or whatever it is, you get to ceaselessly exist in it. It's a full and complete escape for you. So it comes down to being a kid who's not particularly brave, so the real world scares them. And the imagined world is safer. Even if terrible things happen in that world, it's your own and it's less scary. And the world you create allows you to be brave. It comes down to small moments where you feel ashamed. It comes down to being a kid who never wants to... it comes down to being a kid who's not ashamed. It comes down to being a kid who never wants to leave those worlds, but always told that they must by an adult who maybe reminds them that the world with the Barbies isn't the one that they can exist in, or by a peer who's sick of playing the long-winded game of make-believe, or when you're 21 and a medical health professional diagnoses you as bipolar. An illness that's marked by depression, but also periods of abnormal happiness, mania that cause you to make decisions without any regard for consequences. You're reckless. See, theatre allows me for a little while to live in my worlds where I can make the decisions I want. I don't have to worry about money, or other people, or sadness, or shame. See, with theatre, you don't stop playing until we all say, let's stop playing. And with theatre, or any art for that matter, you can never feel ashamed for wanting something too much. And with theatre, you can be reckless whenever the fuck you want to be, for as long as you want to be. And that's why I make the work I make.